First, we have Leticia Carrillo Nigueras. She's a doctor in physics in photonics, and currently she's working at Photonic Sensor and Algorithms, SL. Then we have José Manuel Calatayud Jordán. He's a graduate in physics and FIR, which are the Spanish acronym for intern resident radiophysicist, and he's in his second year, and he's working at La Fe Hospital here in Valencia. Then we have Maite Gandia Ferrera. She's a graduate in physics and a data scientist working in La Fe Hospital too. Then is Ana Peñuelas Martinez. She's a doctor in theoretical physics, and currently she's studying a master's degree on teaching in high school. And lastly, we have Iker Gallego Moreno, who is also a graduate in physics and has the master's degree in high school teaching, and currently he's lecturing maths at a high school level. So as this is a round table, now I'm going to ask our speakers to introduce themselves and talk about their career path and why did they choose it. And then, as you know, it's open for the public to ask any questions, so please raise your hand and I will be bringing you the microphone.
Okay, so hello, it's listening okay. So, well, as she said, I'm teaching in a high school. It was like a path that I took when I finished the degree. When I finished the degree, I was like mostly between try to keep on investigating in physics, like most people would think in that moment. I think like most of us, when we are in the degree, we think that investigation is the best path, or the path that is more accurate in physics, or the things that we are doing in the degree. But I consider the teaching because something that I had always like, it was always in my mind, like from when I was, I don't know, in high school myself. Also later I was doing like some well, that's something that most of us have done too, giving I don't know how to say it. Yeah, lessons, particular lessons, I don't know. Private lessons, okay. So I was kind of enjoying that, so I say, okay, maybe this could be a path for me. Also, I think that the side that I like the most from this, apart from teaching maths or physics in itself, was that physics or science, maybe in general, or pure sciences, are like a bit, or we can say that maybe sometimes are a bit apart from from society, or from social implications. And so I like it to have like some job that was in some kind implicated in the society. And so this part I enjoyed it. I did the master. The master maybe is not the best experience, but it's a thing you have to do to get to the teaching job. And then I got to teach in a high school first as a, I don't know how to say, like a substitute teacher, let's say. And this past year I had like a fixed position. And so in my experience to now, it's kind of, it's good. I mean, I enjoy teaching to students. I enjoy having a relation with teenagers. That's mostly what you do there. And also the condiciones de trabajo. Working conditions are also cool in education, public sector in general, I think, in this moment at least. And so that's a big part that we have to appreciate. And more or less it will be.
don't know if, yeah. I have two questions. The first one is more a curiosity. How you can become a teacher in Spain? And the second is, in Italy, I noticed that a lot of students see STEM like useless the topics. Like the math or the physics or chemistry are have not a role on everyday life, and they are considered too difficult for normal people. So every time we say that, we study physics, we study math, we study chemistry, we are they look at us like I don't know, like gods or super brains. How can you think is it possible eliminate this this preconcept, this bias from people? How can we guide the people near the STEM?
Okay, so for the first question, the path to get to teach here, well, you can be like what I was saying before, like a substitute teacher. It's not always a substitute because you can get like a place that is not forever, but you can be a full year there, and that's well, the normal path would be do an exam. I don't know how to say that in English, oposiciones, but so that's like a public exam that everyone can go for. Yeah. So yeah, if you pass that, not only like pass with the note, but you get to be one of the people that have the highest marks, considering the exam and considering like other things like years you have studied, languages, like points you get in other things. You get a position like for lifetime if you want. And but if you don't, if you don't pass or you don't get to be one of those people that get the position, you then get into a list that is like where they go when there's a position that is not covered or they have to find for a substitute, and that you can be working there until you get to the exam and you get your position if you do it sometime. And then for the second question, well, that's something that actually is like one of the most worrying things when you are teaching, possibly science mostly. I'm teaching maths, so probably it's like, I think it's like the most exaggerated part of what you were saying, because it's like always there's a lot of students that have to like this frightening because of the maths and they don't like it at all, and I think a lot of times it's because they have got to a point that they don't understand it fully, so they get like frustrated that they are not understanding, and so they are not going to keep going well in that subject, but they are forced to keep doing it. So that's a mix of frustration and like being obligated to do something that you are not good at, or you think you are not good at and you are not enjoying. What I think most of the time is try to motivate the students that it's not necessary to be the best in the class to enjoy maths or to understand them in a basic level. Like, okay, you can understand them. Maybe you are not going to be the best of the class. It's not necessary, but you can at least understand what is the use of it and how can you go to use it in your normal life. The other thing I think that happens a lot is that a lot of times in the curriculum that we use in the high school, the subjects are maybe a bit disconnected with reality, and that is true. I mean, in this case, I agree a lot with the students in that, and sometimes we have to try to look more how to teach it, or teach the things that are in a way useful in your normal life, either if you're going to do later academic path or not. And well, that's more or less what I usually think about it, and I think it's still complicated because a lot of them have like this bias that is very difficult to get by, but it's like the thing that I think about, what I think about it most of the times for try to overcome it or solve it is something like this.
Okay, is it working? Okay. So, well, I'm Anna, and first I want to say that I'm very happy to be here, especially because I participated in the first edition of this school, and now it's my former teacher and my former students and friends who invited me, so it's quite a nice opportunity. And well, about me, I finished my degree here, and then I did a master, and then I did a PhD here at UVEG in theoretical physics. And when I finished, I decided to do a postdoc, which is the most usual path to follow if you want to keep on science. So I moved to Germany, to Mainz, to do a postdoc. But when I was there for not for a lot of time, I decided that that was not what I wanted to do forever, because normally what happens is that after finishing your PhD, you have to spend like, maybe the average is around 10 years, moving every 2 or 3 years to a different country to do a different postdoc. So you have to look for a new position every 1-2 years, apply for it, and then have don't be sure that you are going to get one position. So it's really, it's not stable. It's a lot of stress, and also you are apart from everyone you care of for 10 years, even if you have friends when you move. So I decided that that was not the path I wanted to follow, and I prefer to return here to Valencia. And since I have always enjoyed teaching a lot, I decided that that was what I was going to do. And this gap, I had like a half year or more than a half year between because maybe the people who are not from Spain, you don't know, you have to do this master for become a teacher. You need this to work for a public or semi-public school or high school. So I couldn't enroll until September, so I spent like, I don't know, more than half a year working in a private school because I didn't need the master for that. And also, working in a private school made me realize that I didn't want to work in the private sector anymore because not only the working conditions, but the environment and the way of relating with the students was very far from what I think it should be. So yeah, now this year I'm finishing the master that, as Iker said, is not the best master that you can do, but still you have to do it. And now I'm finished it, and next year I'm planning to do this exam and see if I can get a position and be here, which I think it's I don't say it's a better path than research, but it's a path that has better working conditions and better stability. I think that's it.
Since you were also a teacher in the university, I would like to ask you which are the main differences you see between teaching in the university and teaching in the high school?
Well, yeah, I think first of all, when you are in university, you don't have to worry about, well, discipline, or don't say discipline, but you don't have to worry that the students pay attention to you, because normally they do. And when you are in high school, of course, that's something you have to work on, and also not only the discipline, but also you have to make them interested in your subject, because someone that has studied physics, he or she decided that they want to study that. But in high school, you have many students that don't want to be there. So you have to, as he said, try to reach them and make the subject at least interesting, minimal interesting for them. So I think that's the main difference.
I have a question for maybe both of you. Iker, you said you're teaching maths, but you studied physics. So you decided to teach math maybe because it was easier to do the exam for math rather than from physics. And if you Anna, you're doing the masters in math, you're trying to teach math.
Yeah.
Not physics, right?
In my case, I doubt it because of both of the ways, because it's maths or physics and chemistry. So it's not purely physics that maybe we could be more interested. You have to do the chemistry as well. And yeah, in some way they say that when you have to prepare for the exam, you have to study also chemistry, which we don't do a lot here in the degree, so we don't have like so much basis here as we maybe have in maths. That of course we have a lot of things that we haven't studied here, but I don't know, if you enjoy it more, you can do it better, I think. And in my case it was kind of this, I doubted, but in the end I appreciate that in physics, teaching physics and chemistry, maybe gives you the opportunity to have lectures that are maybe a bit more like experiences and experiments, and maybe a bit more exciting than always in the whiteboard having formulas. That mainly mathematics is more about that. But for me, it worked more having the maths more than having physics and chemistry. So I go for that way. It was not about dizziness so much.
For me, it's kind of the same. I also didn't want to study chemistry. I mean, I did theoretical physics, so I'm more comfortable with math than with chemistry. And also, I mean, also, it has to see that when you do this exam, there are more places to study maths, so it's easier to get a position in maths than in physics. And I think also it's a factor.
Hola. Hello. So Anna, my question is for you. So in this, when we finish the PhD, for a lot of us, it's very hard to decide if we want to keep going or to leave left academia and forget. So I want to ask you if the decision was easy, it was hard, and after having this decision, if you are happy or if you have some thoughts about, oh no, I should keep going because this is not as good as I thought, because for us it's very hard to say, okay, no, stop with academia after all this process and change forever, let's say. So I want to know a bit more about this.
Yes. Well, for me it was not easy at all. I mean, I was like thinking a lot, I talk a lot to my friends. I mean, they can tell that I was very, I was not a nice person this time. And also then when you're a kid, you have to tell everyone that you did, you have to tell to your supervisor, to your colleagues, to everyone, and it's like every time explaining the same. So for me that was the worst actually, worse than quitting, telling everyone why I have done that, and sometimes even people tell me things like, oh, you have not taken the right decision. So I mean, not a lot, but sometimes it happens. Yeah, but I don't regret. I mean, I see my colleagues that are working abroad, and maybe they are happy, and I'm sure they will do really successful things, but I didn't want that. And in the end, I think you have to also think that if you want that, and if you want that for a long period of time. So you have to think if you give more importance to being near to the people you love, or if you give more importance to your career. And I think that's the decision you have to take.
Good afternoon. Així, no? Okay. Okay. Good afternoon. Thanks for your introduction. As she said, my name is Maite, and I'm going to briefly tell you my experiences. I have studied physics. To be honest, when I was on the third year of physics degree, I realized that I didn't want to work as a physicist. I wasn't motivated on what I was studying, and I didn't know what to do when I finished the degree. So in that moment, I thought that I had to finish my degree the best I could, and for me it was important to be comfortable and to enjoy while doing my final degree project. So I thought that I wanted to do it with Dr. Manuel Perucho, and that's what I did. I talked with him and asked if he could be my tutor, and when he accepted, I felt really relieved, because for me he's not only a very good teacher but a brilliant researcher and a great person. So while doing my final degree project about a social application of dynamic systems, Manuel made me raise interest in programming models. So when I finished the degree, I started the data science master. I have to say that despite having chosen a master's degree that doesn't have much to do with physics, I don't regret having studied physics, because I think that studying this degree helps you open your mind and be able to study many other things. So if I were 18 again, maybe, and yeah, I had to choose, maybe I would probably choose physics again. The data science master duration is of 2 years here in the University of Valencia. The first year consists of 60 credits distributed on many subjects, and the second 30 credit year consists of some lectures and seminars on topics of interest, the master's final project, and the internships. I did my internships together with the master's final project at the University of Valencia, and then I looked for a different job. So now I'm working at the Biomedical Imaging Research Group, GIBI 230, led by Dr. Luis Martí Bonmatí at the Health Research Institute of La Fe Hospital. And what our group does is to work on medical images, to develop the use of imaging techniques and the biomarkers that are extracted from the images in order to optimize the diagnostic and the therapeutic efficiency of medical imaging through a multidisciplinary and multimodality approach, both in clinical care research and in animal experimentation. So at the moment, what I am doing in particular is to work on brain PET images from patients who have a mild cognitive impairment and can develop a neurodegenerative disease in the future, such as Alzheimer. I work with the nuclear medicine radiophysicist, Dr. Irene Torres Espallardo, who is also a brilliant physicist, and from whom I'm learning a lot. And I am very comfortable working there because there is very good collaboration with all the teammates of the GIBI group, the nuclear medicine physicist and the neurologist and all people. So that's my experience. I hope I have shown that physics degree opens many different doors. And if you have any question.
You said you work on pets, on animal experimentation.
No, I don't particularly work on. I work on brain PET images.
Yeah, and
but from people.
No. The question is, I imagine that the response every time it's a little bit different from each individual, or not.
Can you repeat the question?
When you do when you study the brain of an animal or of a human, I can imagine that this is the response of the brain the same from in every case, or it change a little bit in every case?
Between an animal and a person? Between
each individual, the response of each brain of each individual is the same, or it change? And if it change, how it's possible to terminate how what is in common, what change, how to terminate where we can where we can sure that something it work for every individual.
Okay, I think maybe is this more a question for a physician than for a physicist. But I don't know. I don't know the answer to your question. But maybe, for example, we are applying artificial intelligence to get all the brain images and put them on the same reference space, and then we can analyze. What we do, what physicians also do, is to compare a brain of the people, of the person of interest, with a database of normal people. And for example, for Alzheimer, they segment some brain zones and they study the hypometabolism. So maybe for example, if a region is ¿cómo se diu? The intake of a region is lower than it should be, this is the hypometabolism, and then they identify those patients like this. But I don't know if I have answered your question. Maybe not.
They seem to produce a database and they compare
Wait.
okay, sorry.
Otherwise,
Yeah, thank you. It's is there any people at home following? Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And then they compare each experiment with the database. That's basically what you said, right? So yeah, more or less. Yeah. So you better be on the mean, right?
okay.
Okay. Has the master was necessary to get this position, or the master degree you did in data science? You said no.
Mm-hmm.
It was necessary to get this position, or has nothing to do with the master?
Well, when I applied to that position, they were searching a data science, so.
Okay, so it was.
But for example, in my research group, there are not only that data scientists. They are
okay.
biochemical.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so it's really related to.
Yeah.
And was it hard to get to find a job? Did you have to find a lot, or was straightforward to get a job after the master and all of that?
In my case, it was fast because well, I was actually working in the university, but I wanted to change, and I found it. Well, I sent my CV, and they made me an
okay. Okay, so no, it's
An
because
interview.
it's really useful not to get this master degree, because also it gives you contact with.
Yes, I think all people that finished with me the master degree are now working in whatever.
Cool. And what's your day-to-day work like? If you can get a little bit into what do you do?
Well,
like you spend a lot
am
of time on the computer, I imagine.
I am doing my PhD there, so I am doing investigation. But for example, there are many other ways. For example, the people when finish this master usually work for a for a business company. It's like the most common.
Okay. It's like working with. Okay, I shout my. Enough. I have a lot of questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the next question.
Okay, I'll make you the last question, and then we'll go to the next speaker. Well, I'm in kind of a similar situation that you've talked about. I'm in the third year of the degree. We'll see about that. And I wanted to ask you, because at least in my experience here at the University of Valencia, when talking about career paths, they are mostly focused in investigation and getting a PhD and working in some of the departments here. So I wanted to ask you how did you find out about these other career paths, and if you got informed here in uni or if you had to search information?
Yeah, it is true that there is not many information when you are doing your degree of the things you can do when you finish. But for example, I did an optative. Yes, optative. Selective subject. a selective subject, electronics. And for example, the teacher introduced us this master, and then I searched for it, and I liked it, but it was luck.
My turn. Okay. Okay. Well, I did a different. I followed a different path. In my case, I am currently doing the residency in well, in English it would be medical physics, but in Spanish the translation is not so straightforward. But anyway, and well, now I'm in the radiotherapy section of the hospital. And well, I don't know. I already knew about the specialty during the degree, and yeah, more or less, and at the beginning of the degree. But also here, when I was in third year, I think, one teacher of the faculty organized a visit to the hospital, and at the same hospital where I'm doing the residence, Facundo, and he introduced us, and the resident who was there also introduced us about that, and well, that was fine. And well, about the technical aspect of that of the residence is that, well, there are like 3 main blocks in the residence, which is the 4 main blocks, which is the first one is the radiological protection. This one is a little bit boring in that somehow, because it's more like, you know, the legislation, all the laws that involve and all the technical aspects, very technical aspects, relating to the protection of patients and the public and the workers. But there are things that you need to know, and also there's the nuclear medicine, and where I worked together with Maite also for 6 months, and with the doctor Irene Torres, no? Because she was like the one who's there working, not as a resident, but as a fixed worker. And well, because you know, there are treatments that involve the use of radionuclides, and for either diagnostic or treatment. This is more a clinical topic, but anyhow. And also, you know, because there are physical aspects involved in the treatments or the diagnostics, and there are specialized equipment for that, then well, it makes sense that a person with a knowledge in physics works there. So yes, and then now I moved to the radiotherapy department or section, which is like the main part of the residence is focused to that. But, the rest of the aspects are also important, and well, because, you know, the radiotherapy treatments are treated in accelerators and so, and they need to be planned before the treatment, and this planning is made by the physicist. And yeah, so well, it's 3 years the residence, and I'm in the second one. I'm finishing the second one. Well, mainly that's a little bit the overview of the residence. Well, it could also tell you more things, like how to get there. So, well, it's like in Spain, there's the residence is mainly focused for doctors, for physicians, but there are also specialties. Well, you know, physicians, you have surgeons, you have, I don't know, radiologists, etc., and many kind of specialties. But there are also other specialties that do not involve physicians, like, for example, pharmacists, biology, chemistry, and so. Well, the second most important is pharmacy, but that's another question. And the thing is that everybody, to get into that specialty, must take an exam at a national level, and it's a test exam. And you know, if there are 30 places, so the first 30 people, are the ones who get the position. So that's a little bit, and in that order they choose where they want to go. And that's a little bit the idea. So that's not only for physics, but that's in general for a lot of specialties. So if you have friends or family who are doctors, so they did more or less the same, but for the specialty, which is 4 or 5 years, depending. And well, I don't know. I don't know if you want to ask something, or if not, I can talk more. It depends. Yes. So.
Thank you. What happens after the third year?
No, it's only that it was at that time when I went there. I already had the idea previously, so it just confirmed.
Will you finish your residency next year? What happens?
Okay. Sorry. I was thinking about the degree. Yeah, that's an interesting question because one. No. Yeah, depend. No, that's interesting because in different. Communities, autonomic communities is different because the health system depends on the autonomic community. And, to work at a public hospital, you need here you need to inscribe yourself in Spanish, bolsa de trabajo. Yeah, in a list. Yeah, it's a list, actually, yes. And you are ordered mainly by experience. So you are the last one in the list. But in some places there's much movement of people, like mainly in Barcelona. And many people, as I know, go there, stay for a year or so, and then they come back, but not everyone. But it's fun. It's fine, and you can also work at in the private.
Yeah, so you are again on the game. You are not. You don't get a permanent job.
No, it's only 3 years because
it's not automatic.
No, because it's only a formation. You need to the residents, but also for physicians, it's actually the same. When you finish, it's only formation. Because it's only formation, you are not fixed in that place, and you need to look for job in other places. But it's not so problematic for me. You can also work in the private sector for private hospitals, but in that list, you do not go up with experience because it doesn't count your experience on private hospitals. In semi-public hospitals, there are not many, but there are issues there. It depends. So yeah, it's like the drawback of working in a private hospital is that you don't go up in the list in the public sector because it's assumed that you decided to work in a private hospital, but perhaps you earn more money. It might be more stable if everything goes fine, and that. So it depends. And in the public hospital, eventually you will need to do an opposition, an exam, to stay in a fixed place. So, but that's the same with doctors and so. And I don't know if you have. But if you move to another place, another community, it's different. And I didn't explain all the details because I don't know them. For example, they are not there are public hospitals. I'm sorry if I'm being very long, but if not, the last one will not give you a speech. No. The only thing is that there are public hospitals, but there are public hospitals in the sense that one thing is the autonomic community. Another thing is the province, because the province also has hospitals, and that's a different thing. I didn't know that, and it was interesting for me. So that's only the idea. And I don't know if you have many questions, so you want me to explain.
I do actually have a question.
Yes, no problem.
So, do you think that the degree prepares you for this career path? And also, a second question, follow up. Do you find it difficult? Because do you have to interact with patients and all of that, or not?
So the first question is that yes, because the exam is oriented. The exam is exam of physics, but general physics. not only physicists can apply for the, can take the exam, also people related with physics, like for example engineers, but well, I'm not so happy about that. There are people who study and go, okay. This is because there is not much demand. Because in Europe, in every country in Europe, the idea is more the same, but it's different. So I don't know in each country specifically how it works. But, well, the thing is that the exam mainly consists about topics in physics, like, but not as a proper exam, because we are more used to answer questions in a, like developing a problem and blah, blah, blah. These are more conceptual questions or more test-like questions. Okay, so... Yeah, they are algebra. Oh, no, yes, yeah. I didn't remember that. So that's a long time ago. It was a long time. Yeah, he was prepared. That's fine. That's fine. No, yeah. And well, but normally people who don't study physics have much. It's much more harder for them to pass the exam, because they don't know anything about quantum physics and kind of things. No, nothing at all. And things about electromagnetism and thermodynamics, they don't have it very clear. So there are people who asked. What is it? Because sorry. Perdón. Sorry. No, it's que because I went one month to a preparing academy, and a person asked, "What's that where the H? It was the constant Planck divided by 2p." So I think. Okay. No, but when you work, you don't need to know anything about that. And for the second question. No, you don't interact with patients at all, because that's what doctors do. Like it's divided. It might happen, and in some places, because it depends on the hospital, it might happen that for a particular thing you need to talk to a patient, but it's not the main thing. It will happen in a very spontaneously. What you will do most probably, or depending where you work, is to teach people. Because I didn't say that. Well, also, like many doctors, for example, who work with radiation, this is a very broad, this includes a lot of specialties, they need to have a basic knowledge of what they are doing and of what they might ask for. Like, for example, doctor of the digestive system can ask for a certain procedure, and he needs to know that this involves the use of radiation, and this leads to a certain risk of cancer, blah, blah, blah. And the thing is that you need to teach these people, and there are like courses for them, like very short ones, but it's fine. And also people who, like for example, nuclear medicine doctors or radiation oncology doctors, they need to have a particular course for them to know that, well, they work with accelerators or they work with radionuclides and that kind of thing. That's only. Okay, and then we can move.
Hello? I'm an engineer. Well, more or less, yes. Actually, I didn't choose my career. It just appeared. So I studied physics here as well as my colleagues here. And I liked everything, and I didn't like anything at the same time. It was like mixed feelings. So I just continued studying the masters in photonics because I liked a little bit more optics, electromagnetics, and so on. And then one day I just went to some talks that were organized by the optics group here in the University of València, and also the applied physics group, the fiber optics groups, and so on. The talks about what they were investigating, and also talks where some companies came and spoke about what they are doing, and maybe they are hiring people or so on. So then in those talks, I listened to a talk from a company, and they were just hiring people, I was in the end of my master's and thinking and being afraid, very afraid about my future. I was thinking of doing my PhD here with the fiber optics group. Had already scholarships and so on, but I was afraid about the future of academic research before beginning it. So I finally decided to send my CV to this company because it caught my attention, and they just hired me. And it's where I am working now. My case is a little bit different because when I was working there for 6 months or so on, they offered me to do my PhD there in the company. It's a kind of a PhD which is called industrial PhD. It's not very common in Spain. It's being now more popular, but I think here in this university, at least in the physics area, we have been 3 or 4. It's not a very common for now way of doing the PhD. So I just continued there. I said yes to do the PhD. I don't know why, but I said yes. I continued, and I just finished my PhD about 3-4 months ago there in the company. Actually, the work I do is much more as an engineer than as a physicist. And basically that's it. I don't know if you have any question.
Hi, what are the differences you have seen between studying an industrial PhD and studying a PhD here in the university?
Okay. Well, I actually did not start it here, my PhD, but I know I have a lot of colleagues that they have. The main difference I've seen is that it's completely different. I mean, I was 4 years doing research for the company, not for my PhD, and from the research of the company, I just picked what was more likely to be written into a PhD, and then wrote my PhD. Actually, the thing is that when you are in a company that has more or less money, you have a lot of more facilities to do experiments, to test things. You have also probably you are working in a group, so you can work together with more people. It's much easier to advance in your investigation, to go fast in your investigation. So at the end of the day, after 4 years working there, I had a lot of things to write. Just had to pick some of them, and at the end of the day, I picked the ones that my boss led me to tell, because everything was confidential and so on. And that's it. Basically, I did not realize I was studying a PhD until I had to write it.
Isn't scientific research public? Well, isn't it supposed to be public?
Yes, of course.
And why?
Well, in a company, of course, they do research, because I work in a technological company. We develop 3D cameras for commercial and industrial applications and so on. They do need to do research, and this research many times is implying intellectual property things. So they are also investigating many times at the same level than in the universities. So instead of writing papers, you write patents, and it's how it works.
This is also done in public universities.
Yes, of course, yes. And that's it.
After you finish your job, your PhD inside the company, how is your work any different from when you are doing the PhDs? Like, you have like more relevant position inside the company, or the job stays the same?
Well, actually, I just enrolled the company, and we were 4 people. It was just a kind of a startup. And now we are 30 or so on. But it's still a small company. So I finished my PhD 3 months ago, and I can say that my work is exactly the same in every sense. I don't know what's going to happen, because I'm also thinking, actually I'm also, this year I was doing the masters for teaching as well, because I am also considering that possibility. And in these months I am thinking what to do, if to keep in the company or looking for other jobs in the private sector, where you can definitely earn much more money, but you need to know if this is what you want or not, or if going to a different thing. So it's just like I'm in a difficult position now.
Thank you.
So I wanted to ask, because many of you have a doctorate, and I wanted to ask you if you feel like maybe the degree is very focused on investigation, and if other career paths are maybe not that talked about, or if your doctorates are because you were really, really interested in physics and chose that path, not because it was the only one you knew, but because it was the one you wanted.
Well, in my case, I think that the career, the 4 years, are very unspecific in general, in everything. I work as an optical engineer, more or less, and everything I know about optics, well, I of course learned the basics here in the faculty, but the most I've learned by myself. And I don't think this is a good thing, actually. Because, of course, what I think is that in the career, of course, we need to see a lot of topics, so you cannot go deep in all of them. And the best thing I can say that I got from the career is that I am not very afraid of going to learn new things about any of the topics. I know the ABC. So it's not I have any knowledge about anything, but I can just go inside more or less anything, basically.
I just would like to add that I agree with you that the degree is quite general, so you are not focused into any path. And I think that is a good thing, because I don't believe that the university has to be focused to the future work. So I think the university has to be to learn, and even if you then end up working in something that has nothing to see with you have studied, I think that that's a really nice thing, because the university has not to be like something that companies or even public sector has like to build workers.
Well, if anyone in the public has another question. If not, I have a following up question. Because you, Leticia, you haven't studied a master's.
Yes, yes.
Ah, you did?
Yes, I did. I studied the advanced physics masters in photonics here. And then I was going to continue with my PhD in the fibers optic group, but then I quit and went to the company to study there the PhD in optics.
Well, my question is still stands, and is if all of you find that the master was necessary to complement the formation that the degree offers, and well, apart from you who needed it to work, if you think that it complemented your formation, and if you really learned something, and if it was something that you just needed to work and you did it just because it was like you needed the certificate.
Well, in my case, I would have liked that I had learned more than what I got from that master, specifically because you have to teach and you don't need only the maths or the physics that you learn in the degree, but also you have to have some knowledge in pedagogy that we don't have here in the degree. So I think that's really important if you have to go to that career. But in the master, it's not so well done, at least in my opinion. So you can have so much formation. Of course, it's not the same as the people that teach in primary school that have a full degree about that, and it's only a year. But still, I think that we could be like better formatted, like to work with teenagers that have a lot of things to do other than learn maths.
Perdona, no has hablado.
In my case, it was to do just something that wasn't related to physics, so I had to do it, and I have learned many things in this master. I think it's not like the education master. Sorry. And in my case, it was useful because at least I had the opportunity to see which were the different branches that in photonics area were more relevant, important, or so on. And it gives you a kind of overview of everything, so you can get a more specific path. I also wanted to say that I agree with Anna that it's good that the degree is not very specific, but also in my case I experienced a kind of frightening feelings because I came to the university to study physics, but at the end of the day, when you are in the fourth year, you cannot avoid thinking, and now? Because we are all devoted to work wherever. So maybe I don't know how to do it because I never thought about this very deeply, but I think I could have appreciated little bit of orientation about what to do or how to follow, because in my case everything was by chance. So now if I need to look for a new job, it's not the case I need to look for a new job, but now you imagine that I need to look for a new job, I don't know how to do it. Of course, I have contacts, I more or less know that LinkedIn, that things, but how this works and how the career is related to the different careers that actually physics can do. Because the optical engineering that I am, the career of optical engineering that I am doing now, it's not related to anything that I studied. Of course, it uses optics, it uses diffractive optics, it uses lasers, and so on. But yes, of course. But the work, the way you work, and how you use these tools is very different to what you do in the university. It's my opinion, of course.
No, well, I see that I guess that we organized this because we had the examples of people following academic careers during the week, and I think it's an excellent idea because actually what you said about the academic career is completely true. It can be a nightmare for many people. It is. For everybody it is at some point. So yeah. So but I mean but if you survive, well, it's nice. It's whatever. About the degree, any degree. I think that in I don't know in the countries of the people who are visiting us. I don't know whether this is like that, but in Britain, for instance, in the UK, which is, I don't know if the best example in many things, but the idea, or I think in Germany it was like that too, is that they give you the basics of physics, and then you get deeper into whatever you want to do later, right? So maybe the problem is not giving you all the possible options or all the possible paths, because that's difficult, because there is not anything written about how to look for a job, how to find a job, and And I don't know, I am 46, and in my case, it was also I mean, I just followed I was like a donkey with the carrot, so I was just walking and walking, and here I am. So still walking. So no, the idea is that there is not anything written, so maybe what we shouldn't do is to bother students too much with so many details, so they will have more time to learn other stuff, right? So I agree with you on that. And then you see that there, I mean, you can do many things. Yeah, Maite has said, or have said. I mean, it's like your path, but in the end, you have said it several times. You know how to solve problems. You know how to face problems, and that's the relevant point. I think that's very important. That's not something which is irrelevant. When I was an Erasmus in the UK, they had a subject in the last year of the degree just to solve problems. We were all the year solving problems because they wanted to make sure that we knew how to solve problems, because this is what they were training us for, and that's it. And I think that's very important. So and this is the only thing that our degree is good at, but it's very important. So
yes, I agree.
So I think that's the idea. And a common advice, because I think I'm the eldest here, right? So I have the right to give advices. You talk about crossroads, our decisions, right? So I think that I mean, this happens to us, and mainly at the age which you are now, but yeah, there are options, and you have to choose one that you like. That's it. Because there may be others that you like too. But the one that you take, you must like it, because then when you look back and think, if you think back on what could have been if you did the other thing, you can tell yourself, yeah, I could have done that, but I like what I'm doing. And this is the best answer you have, because, I mean, yeah, life is hard in that respect.
Well, if no one has anything to say, I have 2 questions to close the round table. No.
So I just have one another question. This time for Leticia. How are the working conditions in the private sector?
I think you can find everything you can imagine.
Okay,
yes,
a lot of possibilities.
I think that many times the academic career, when you finish the degree and you go for a PhD, most of us go for a scholarship that we all know it's not a lot of money. It's about 1,000 euros per month or something like that. And maybe we can think that in the private sector it's going to be much better. But actually, I know many people that are working in the private sector for not much more than that. So you have to be very careful, because if you are quitting the investigation to go for the private sector because you think that you are going to be much more successful there, it's not like that in many cases. In my case, I had luck, and I have quite good conditions since I started, but it's dangerous. So this is also something that I wanted to say, because many times people think that in the private sector you can earn a lot of money, but it's not that true.
And if not related to money, but to time and quality time,
yeah.
Do you bring your problems to your home?
Well, personally I don't, but I know a lot of people that does. This depends a lot on the company. You can be working and doing extra hours in a company, or you can have good conditions. In my case, I have good conditions, so I think I had luck in that sense. But I know that there is also a lot of bad things in the private sector. Also, I know that many times in doing the PhD, if you are maybe in your last year and you need to get papers and you need to do a lot of things, you are working 10 or 12 hours a day maybe, but it can also happen in the private sector.
Okay. That was the information I wanted to get.
I have a question for the public, actually. If any of our international attendees want to share any experiences or anything they know about career path, because, well, all our speakers are Spanish and they are talking about their experience here in Spain. So, so maybe any of you want to share anything? No? Okay, it's okay. I just wanted to ask because I was curious. And yeah.
I have a question for the teachers here, and I'm beginning to like teaching because I think is satisfaction. I found it satisfactory, and I want to know if you how does it feel to be a young teacher? I mean, younger than average, I think, and there is a difference you have found between the relationship you had with students and with colleagues and
in my experience, just in the beginning, because you are younger, usually they like you more because you are younger. That's true. That's a very good part. It's true, and yeah, that happens a lot. Of course, it sometimes it has to do also that when you are younger, maybe you have like more recent how is to be a student, and maybe you are like a bit more understanding than older teachers. It's not always like that. Of course, can be exceptions in both sides, but I think that has to do too. And it can happen that there are younger teachers that have like a very strict mind in how they teach, and maybe the students that don't like that so much. The bad part, I think, that is that most of the times the young teachers, we are like we are not stable in one high school or one place, so we have like less voice or less to say in how the high school works and how it is going to work the next years. And maybe the older teachers, also because they have the experience on how it works, everything, maybe they have more to say, and that's like the good part, I guess. But it's true also that sometimes this having like a better relation also can be like have a bad part, like maybe you have more problem in solving conflicts and not being so strict like other teachers that maybe have more tools on how to do that. I don't know. So I think also, of course, it's like a way you are doing, and maybe at the beginning you have some position how to give the lessons, and that gives a relation with the students. And at the end of it, when you're older, maybe it's different.
And how is your relation with older professors inside the high school? Do you feel less experienced than them and they can rule over you, to say it somehow? I don't know.
I won't say that they can rule over me, but as I was saying, usually what happens is that I was saying, you're maybe not stable in that high school, maybe it's your first year and you don't know how a lot of things work, so you let the others that have more experience say more about those things. Also because maybe next year you're not going to be there and you feel like, okay, I'm not going to decide these things. Also, I think that sometimes they are used also to do their way in a lot of things, so that also like it's like more complicated to make them change their minds about ways of teaching, ways of preparing, I don't know, things like that. But I think that also depends on how is your personality. If you have more, I don't know, like you are more straightforward in saying what you think, or you are more, you like debating a lot of, I don't know, some things like that. I won't say that it's ruling over you. Sometimes it is because maybe it's the head of the department, something like that, but usually it's not. You can talk with them, but maybe it's difficult convincing them in other ways.
I have a question for Iker, well, a bit also for Anna. How is the, can you talk us about a bit about the process of studying this exam that we call opositions? How difficult it is and how much time you have to spend every day studying?
Yeah. Okay, so it also depends a bit of the year that you are taking it, because of course, I don't know, some years ago there were like very few places to get to, so it was like very difficult to be one of the best in that. Recently it's been quite good because they have offered a lot of places in maths mainly. So in my case, for example, I just had to pass the exam. I didn't have to have like a very good grade because fewer people passed than the places that were offered, so passing was enough to get the place, the position. So, okay, so the exam has, and there's another thing that changes, that is that every year maybe it changes a bit. For example, now, next year it will be a little bit different in some things, but, well, mainly the thing is that you have to study like a lot of topics in maths that are like quite extensive, but you don't, well, like there are like 73 topics and you have to choose some of them because you will have to do one of them by luck. Usually we study like 20 to 30 topics of that. And you have to know them really, really well to grade it in 2 hours. Then there's like a part that is like solving problems, and usually this is the hardest part, like the part where most people fail. And then you have like a part that is like preparing to give a presentation of how would you give a full year of lectures in one course specifically. And well, this is more like doing a work, no, more than preparing an exam. But it's a lot of work because you have to think like all the things that you will teach in a year and how you would teach them, and alternative ways in education to teach them all of them. You have to be some original, have to some originality, and yeah. Usually most people like will study a full year. The most common thing before, maybe more before, is to not passing the first year, but to see how it goes, and then maybe next year's give it more effort to maybe have the position. But recently, as I was saying, as you have just to pass, maybe it's easier to do it than the first time. But yes, it's a full year studying to all these 3 things that I said, that it's a lot of work actually. I don't know.
So I have a question for Anna. Have you felt that since you have a PhD, some of your colleagues disrespected your choice of trying to teach in high school instead, because it's a lower education, so maybe some of them?
Okay, I will say that mostly not, because my colleagues, I think all of my colleagues, especially the younger, know how hard it is, and also I have a lot of friends that have a PhD and decide to leave research. So I think most of them understand my decision. And I think, I mean, for example, I can tell my supervisor, my supervisor have told me that I made our own decision, and even when I find him, he tells me that, which I think is not a very nice thing to say, but it's what he thinks. But I think that is like maybe the only exception. Maybe in the moment I was quitting, some people told me, but it's not because they think that teaching is like a worse option or something like that.
Sorry. How is the change of environment between being a PhD or in theoretical physics and working with teachers from other subjects?
Well, I think doing a PhD in the part of being with your colleagues, it's easy because we are all physicists, so we are all like a bit, as you know, we are. And when you are with other people, that's not true, so you have to make, I have to make an effort to be nice and the kind of things. So for me, that's the main difference. So you notice that not everyone is like a bit awkward.
Okay, so as Manel said, we have... Well, anyone has any more questions? Doesn't look like it. You? Great.
No, for the teachers. Yeah.
I mean, I am not a teacher. I want to point that.
You have been.
But
and you will be.
Yeah, it's a simple question, but maybe another answer. How to teach to the student the complexity of a subject? How to teach how study a complex topic? Because maybe the main difficulty when you study math or you study physics is how to look to the topics and understand how to study, and how can you teach to your students how to study?
Not easy question, actually. I would say that in maths, at least, I'm usually interested in that they know how to understand math in itself, like the logic in it, and so usually I would say that they have to learn in how to think this and how to solve the problems, knowing that they have to be like strict in maths, something to say like that. Okay, so a lot of times, like students search like how is the easiest way to get for passing the exam, and that means a lot of times like I just study this formula and then I will do it, and that's okay. Or I learn a couple of steps, like this always works like this, I have to do this step, and then this step, and that's it, no? So usually what you have to go for is like trying to make them think how to solve all these problems without memorizing how to do them. And I think this works for some of the students, but at least for the time you have to teach them specific subjects, there are some of them that maybe are not going to get this understanding way of the maths with your explanation. So maybe at the end they are going to learn in step by step. I think at least for me, it's like trying to find how is the best method for each of them, more or less individually, and this is difficult because you don't usually have time for all of them individually, but trying to look on how it works more for them. And I usually go always for the understanding way, but not that this doesn't always work, and there's moments where you say, okay, learn this, it's okay. And this year I was having like around 25, but I think that the radio has been a little lower because of the COVID measurements, so I don't know the next years if it will go away again in 30s, like the past years. Yeah, differently.
This one is for Leticia. And before you say that sometimes they always say, nah, in the private sector you gain more money, but that depends on sometimes of the luck of the person. But I wanted to ask, if you think if luck wanted to work as a physicist in the private sector, if luck is a very, very important parameter. If you can do things right and you will, and in the end, find a good job, or always luck will be there, the important factor. Huh?
Well, I think, I don't know, I'm just giving my opinion. I think it depends on which part of the physics you want to work on. For example, in photonics, which is kind of popular now, you have some companies working on lasers, some companies working in new materials, some companies working in optics. So if you get to specialize on that, it's not, of course, luck, everything. If you are willing to work in that, probably you move to another city or maybe even to another country. If you are willing to work in something of that, you will. But you, as Anna was before telling, probably you will need to just balance what you prefer. If you prefer to stay in your city, maybe it's not that easy. In my case, I had the luck to find a company where they were developing these 3D cameras, and I just liked it more or less and just continued there. But maybe in Valencia it's not that easy to find companies working in photonics. You can find maybe 10, I don't know. It's just a number that I just invented. But that's it. And if you are a theoretical physicist, I don't think you can work for a company doing theoretical physics. Maybe yes. Maybe there are some, I don't know. I think you can work for a company doing things that probably are related to the things you have studied. For example, I have a colleague that just completed his PhD in theoretical physics, and now he's working for a bank doing kind of mathematical models, complex stochastical methods and so on, and he's working there because he did his PhD on theoretical physics. So it's not just luck. Of course, you need to move and look and be just flexible.
Open-minded.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Thanks.
Last one. Can I ask a question to Manel? But we can also talk about that in the horchata if you prefer. Okay. So, okay. No, because I know some PhD students, like for example me, who are considering leaving the academic research because the instability and also because it's mandatory to go to other countries, like as Anna said, like 10 years or something, no, after the PhD. Well, not 10 years, but okay. Okay, so, well, okay, let's say 6. Okay, well, but the thing is, I know that some years ago it wasn't like this because usually professors in the university okay, the 80s. So I would like to know why now this is in this way, why this change, and who is the guilt, who has the guilt of this? I mean, no, because it's important to know how to fight this because it's a problem. I mean.
So I could talk for an hour about this or two. Well, it depends on the economical situation and on the situation in the universities. Talking about universities, not scientific research institutes. In the public system in Spain during the 80s or something like that, there was a number of non-permanent professors, and there were strikes and so on, and the solution was everybody in. And that saturated the system for many years. That was a first step. Then came 2008. And then came the limitations in hiring people, permanent people, permanent jobs, giving permanent jobs for the public system, not only in universities but also in the health system and so on. We're still paying for that. I mean, in terms of attention, you don't have people have to. There are long waiting lists in hospitals. Well, you may know this, and And in universities, it took much longer to get a permanent job than it used to be the case. So yeah, and in the meantime, they had you getting 1,000 euros per month and teaching and doing research. But this is quite perverse, because they were making profit on the fact that you liked it and you already chose that path, right? And it was hard to leave it at that point. That was really perverse. And this was the Troika and friends, right? So if you want an answer, an easy one, that's it. There was another question here.
Actually, it was a pretty similar question about the fact we are talking about the pros of leaving the academic field. And at least we talked about our experience in Italy, in our case. From our perspective, for example, the school opportunity is like a safe position for my colleagues. The medic field is the economically good position, and inevitably the private sector is the other one. All that's left is the academic that produces fear on everyone because of what we just said. So we talked about the pros of not going in the academical field. What are the pros? What a student should take in consideration when thinking, should I pursue the academic field? Should I pursue these 10 years?
I think I can answer. I mean, the good thing is that for me, you like postpone the decision for 4 years or 3 years. So no, it's true, but because you finish your degree, you do your master, and then you start a PhD, you earn money. It's not a lot of money, but you can. You're still young. You have at the beginning you have free time, and you have money, so you can get away from your parents' house and everything. And I think it's not a bad idea. I mean, and then when you finish, you have like, at least in Spain, I think in Italy it's even better. You have like this money that the government pays you for when you have work. How do you call it in English? Yeah, the unemployment, whatever. So you have time to think. For example, I'm with this money, so I have been able to study a master for 1 year without worrying too much about money. So I think that's also positive. And then in the way you do your PhD, you met really nice people, you travel, which also is fine. So it has good things. But you have to think is something that you want, and I think you have to know that it's something that even if you choose, you don't have to keep forever. So I think that's the important thing for me.
No, it's not a question. It's not a question. It's just to complement the reflection. Yeah. Just because I'm in this point of thinking about what I'm going to do, I'm going to pursue, like you already know, that like the private sector thing, or keeping academics. And the thing is that, okay, in academics the working conditions are not really good and all of that, but the good thing about it is that it's fun. It's amazing. I hate my day when I arrive home, but while I'm here, I'm enjoying what I do. I enjoy my work. It's the thing that I arrived home at 11 o'clock in the night and I said, oh fuck, I have time for nothing now, and I lost all my time. But while I'm working, it's fun. And the thing is that physics is like a drug. You get addicted, and you always want to learn more. And also colleagues, you have nice colleagues, the surroundings, the people, it's mainly nice, and it's exactly. You don't have to pretend to be normal. You go abroad and you meet people, and normally it's easy to get along with them. So it's fun. The thing is that the main reason to keep in academics is that it is fun, but you have to put things and get a balance between this fun and the other things that are important in life also.
So I see that we have actually initiated a very lively discussion. Maybe we can continue it with horchata. But first, oh yeah, so to our international public, horchata is a traditional Valencian drink. But before leaving, I have a question to close the round table, because we have here many degree students, but we also have high school students. And I wanted to ask if any of you have a very short advice for these students about choosing a career path beyond what you have already said. And if not, we can go drink all the horchata.
So I would say, in keeping with, I don't know, the things that we were saying all this time, that maybe it's very important to really know your conditions and what can you get out of the degree, to know what the expectations are and what you have to accept and what you don't have to accept. You were asking before if it was about luck, and I think that a lot of times it's about luck, because as you are like very eager to have a job and you don't know if you're going to get it, you don't really know if it's easy or not. It's not easy, and sometimes maybe you just get the first thing you see, it's an option, and you don't know if this is going to have like very good work conditions, or you're going to like it or not. So I like what we are doing here today, because it gives like a bit of I don't know, like some things to know about what the career expectations are for physicists when you finish. But I think that maybe we should like do these things more, because I really feel that when I went out of the degree, I chose my path and I was like quite sure about it, but maybe I really didn't have I didn't know if I had many other options. So I think that this is actually really important. Also because, well, we were saying, maybe sometimes we get into some conditions that we think that they are acceptable, because they let's say that some companies take advantage that we don't know what good conditions are, and we get to that, and maybe it's not fair or not the best we can get.
Just one sentence, that just be honest to yourself, because sometimes, in my case, this happened. You choose the career just because it's what you are expected to do. It's what your parents think you must do. It's what your teacher, or what you think that you must do. But if you are honest, really honest with what you like, or what you feel in that moment, you will save a lot of suffering, I think. So just keep realistic. And be honest. I think that's the most important thing. And if you don't know what to choose and you need to change, do it. Don't be afraid of that. It's not a path that you need to follow. That's not true. There is not a path that you need to follow. Anything exists in that sense. So just keep going, and just that.
Well, thank you very much to all of you. And so now we have the snack just outside, and we will be back tomorrow at 9:30.